come across with this online mode of teaching or e-learning or the distance learning. So we know that the main issue is accessibility, connectivity, and lack of appropriate devices. We know that the students from urban area, they are so blessed to have a very good internet connection, but the case is not the same for the students in rural areas or village areas. They have heavy issues with this internet connectivity. And in my class also, in Ideal College of Arts and Science, Kuttiyadi, I am the tutor of first BA English, and I have the total strength of my class is 40, but after this online classes, only 31 or 32 students are attending the regular classes. So I find out that many of the students have a difficulty to access the classes. Some of the students in the rural areas, they are going to the terrace of their house and attending the classes. But if it is sunny or rainy, it is very difficult for them to access to the classes. And in addition to that, feeling of isolation, stress and anxiety. We know that the major attraction of our offline or regular schooling is that they can have a lot of entertainments, they have a lot of fun with their friends, meeting their teachers, and all this, they miss all those kind of entertainments. So it feels, it gives a lot of stress and anxiety to the students. They feel isolated sometimes. So as teachers, using all the online opportunities, we need to be a good mentor and counselor to them. That is also an important part. The lack of communication and interaction with the teachers and peers. Then about home assignment and assessment, decreased motivation and delayed feedback. As a teacher taking regular classes to the students, I know that it is the feedback from the students is not same as that in the regular class, because sometimes they will log into the class and they will go somewhere and here. It will be very difficult to get the feedback from the students. And about assignments also, they are not as punctual as submitting assignments in the regular classrooms. Next slide, please. Okay, and as my research methodology, I have conducted an online survey using Google Form, and I have collected responses from 342 students from 2 different colleges. One college is Ideal College of Arts and Science, Kuttiyadi itself, and the other college from another district, Wayanad district. It is WMO College of Arts and Science. So here I have created a Google form with 15 questions, 15 basic questions that I have to share, that I have to get responses from the students, like do you have high-speed internet at home? Do you have access to a device for learning online? Are you satisfied with online English language learning? How helpful your family has been while learning from home? That is also an important matter regarding online teaching. Many of the students, I have conducted 2 case studies for this research, and I find out that many of the students, they don't have a good peaceful atmosphere at home for studying, and they eagerly wish to come back to the school to have a good learning atmosphere. And how stressful do you find learning online during COVID-19 pandemic? So actually in the higher education system, about undergraduate students, they find it about learning English language. They have a lot of opportunities online. They can have discussions in Clubhouse platform, in social medias. They can attend a lot of webinars. They can attend a lot of workshops. Online courses are provided. So the students don't feel that much stress as we expect. Actually, they are a large amount of students are enjoying this online mode of education in English learning classrooms. You can see the result of my survey here. Only to minimize the number of slides, I have just included some of the result. What kind of English classes are you interested in? And we can see that students are interested to attend webinars, group discussions, personal classes. So most of the students, they have opted the option all of the above. That means they are interested in all this type of learning. Then how do you feel overall about online English language teaching, language learning through online mode? a large number of students, that means 180 students out of 342 have responded like they feel it good to learn online because they have the opportunities to speak with the native speakers of English language. They have a lot of opportunity to see watch the lessons in YouTube videos are available, so they feel it enjoyable. And how helpful are your teachers while learning English online? So 231 students out of 342 have responded like they feel it very helpful. Their teachers are very helpful. Next slide, please. So now I am going to the conclusion of my research. So I have concluded, after conducting an online survey and 2 case studies, I have concluded it like this. Students are taking time to adapt to the new method of learning. Because in my case study, one of my case study, I find out that I took that student as a case because there is continuous absence in the class. And after conducting the study, I came out to know that he has a lot of financial problems, economic problems are there in his house, and he finds it difficult to pay the college fee. So he's going for a part-time job, and that is why he is unable to attend the Google Meet classes. So as a solution, I suggested him to attend my WhatsApp classes. So after conducting the Google Meet classes, for him especially, I have recorded some audio classes and sent it through him to WhatsApp. And now the student is using that audio classes, and he's ready for the, he's attending it like other students. Now, virtual ELT education is time-saving, possible to be done from anywhere and safe during pandemic times. That is a merit of the English language teaching using these virtual platforms. Then now focus on the acquisition of 4 language skills. I have just conducted a study to research on how each skill, how students acquire each skills of this language learning. So listening skills, they listen to the audio clips and they will answer the questions. They will listen to the pronunciation, stress, pause, and accent. Then about speaking skill, they can improve their skill using observing to the YouTube interviews or attending the discussions in the Clubhouse or Facebook or other platform. Then chats with the students. Then about reading, they have a lot of e-reading opportunities. Digital libraries are available. They can read from their home and from online classes. And about writing, we are like our regular classes, we are giving writing assignments related to the chapter, and we have given them opportunities for creative writing also. Next slide, please.
Ma'am,
okay, here
your time is up, ma'am. So if you could just wrap up.
Yes, I am concluding. Students are interested to participate in English webinars, group discussions, and personal classes. Inculcating the habit of reading, making a list of unfamiliar words in English and they can study them at home and improve their vocabulary. Listening to English songs, watching English movies, and newspaper reading will improve their language skills. And having a peaceful learning atmosphere at home is an integral part of online learning. Students living in urban area, as I mentioned earlier, have better access to internet, while students from remote area are facing issues with it. It is necessary to ensure strong internet connection and availability of devices for all the students. So that's all about my presentation. Thank you.
Very grounded and then child-centric related study that you have carried out, and then the very good positive outcome is that the result that you expressed was to find out that children are happy through online teaching. You know, it's a very rare phenomena, but then we can make out that all these happy children are those who have this digital infrastructure and then some sort of parental support.
Yes.
And then environment at home, the space, and then the internet speed, the availability of good bandwidth and all that. Good. And then it's very nice to, I mean, your study basically brought about the various interventions that can be planned for children, and then some of the digital tools that you have used, and then scientifically the study that you have carried out as, a systematic study that you have carried out has got something very interesting about the children. Yeah, from the two students' perspective, the study is very, very apt. Yes. Can we have 2 minutes of question and answer session? Then and there. Otherwise, because we have around 7 presenters. 7,
Okay.
8. So, just if there are any questions, now you can please. Next, Mr. Shivraj.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Mr. Shivraj?
Shall I start, ma'am?
Yes, please. Please commence. Mr. Shivraj, okay.
Then I would start it, ma'am.
Yes. Mr. Shivraj and K.R. Akshita, both of them are presenting a study pertaining to acquisition skills.
No, ma'am, actually, she's my professor.
Okay. No,
And
but it's a
she's
joint
absent today,
presentation.
ma'am.
It's okay. It's okay. On behalf of, yeah,
Okay.
it's okay that you will present on her behalf also. So the presentation is on the language skills using online, and then the analysis, the feedback analysis of postgraduate learning. Okay. Yeah, this pertains to higher education sector, and then to know the insights of this study would be very interesting. Over to Shivraj.
Have my slide.
Ms. Mazia, can you help Shivraj's presentation, please?
Your slides were not shared actually. Do you have it yourself? Would you like to share it with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Shivraj, you seem to have not shared the presentation.
No, ma'am.
If you are,
2 days before itself, I shared it with Google Forms.
okay,
right?
don't worry. Mazia will make you the presenter. You can click on the plus mark and then start presenting.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
The way in which Dhanavelu sir did, you can try.
Yes, you can go ahead. You can even share your screen by clicking the button next to the video button. There is a button which is for sharing screen.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Sure.
Are you comfortable?
I think I'm feeling some difficulties there, ma'am.
Okay, you can just present it orally then. If you have difficulty, you can go present it orally. No issue. Marcia,
Hello, ma'am.
can you help? Yes, Shivraj.
Are you able to share your screen?
No, ma'am. I start without my slides, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay, ma'am. My study is all about learning English language in online mode, but it's all about a feedback analysis of postgraduate learning students, ma'am. First of all, I just want to quote what is language acquisition, which was stated by Stephen Krashen, a famous linguist. He says, subconscious acceptance of knowledge where information is stored in brain through the use of communication. He quoted this is as language acquisition, but he says this is for the process for native language speakers. He says every child and every children has to gone through 5 steps in a language learning. First step, pre-production. In stage, everyone has to try to keep 500 words in receptive memory, but when they try to mix and when they try to reproduce the word, they got failed in that, and they move to the second stage, keeping these 500 words in receptive memory. The second stage is known as yearly productive stage or yearly production. In this stage, a new language learner try to keep at least 1,000 words in its memory, in his or her memory, and tries to use it, but very incorrectly, and they are not worried about grammar. This stage take at least 6 months of time. And third stage is known as speech emergence stage. In this stage, every learner or every new child to learning a language tries to keep at least 3,000 words and small phrases and sentences, sentence structures in its mind, but it tries to speak, but it fails in using grammar. And when we move on to the fourth stage, intermediate fluency, in this stage we try to keep at least 6,000 words containing of complex structures and basic sentences. And in this stage the translation scientists and most of the theory speakers says that translation from one language, that is the mother language, from the target language happens at intermediate fluency, and the final and target level is advanced to fluency. It takes 4 to 10 years. This the linguists call this stage as cognitive fluency. Now I am into the feedback analysis of PG students, and survey was conducted in Google Form, and 10 set of questions were circulated all among the colleges of Madurai district, Tamil Nadu, and we got some unexpected data and shocking results from that. First, I move on to explaining why lack of interest created in online mode among students. Monotonous way of teaching. Most of the universities is trying to complete the syllabus in a very rushed way. So teachers tend to get into the class in a very monotonous way of teaching, where the space for students is not provided in most of the colleges. Next, in learning a new language, the most important and significant trauma every student goes through is peer pressure and prejudices. They think that the colleague or their friends or even the teacher will think bad or ill of them while they learn a new language. Then they have to understand that language learning is not at all a small thing. It's a long way process. The student should have the patience to learn the things and new concepts in a language. And moreover, language learning is not only learning a language, it's also about learning a new culture. So students should give importance to socio-linguistic problems and socio-linguistic things. So learning a culture apart from learning a language is important in learning. Instability in network connection is one of the worst that every student goes through. So parents and college management should take proper responsibilities for that. Next thing is insufficiency in innovative teaching. In the online mode, the teachers are pushed to give a proper food to the appetite of students, and the shifting of modern classroom to the online mode is very it's kind of restrictive to the students as well as to the teachers. They both have to get into a new ways of adapting each other's eye contact, body language, focus, attention. We cannot listen to everything in online class, but where in the normal traditional classroom, everything is important. The student should get kind of body language and eye contact even from the student, even from the teachers. So the teachers should go for new methods like PPTs, pie charts, diagrammatic representations, video clips, audio lectures, and flashcards, like these new methods. Moreover, in innovative teaching, reinforcing vocabulary is very more important than introducing vocabulary, because a new learner of a language can understand a new vocabulary on one it's introduced to them, but remaining and keeping that in mind is only happen when the teacher tries to reinforce the vocabulary in the minds of students. Moreover, the modern teacher should know and understand that the modern students also love to enjoy developing their vocabularies through reinforcing movies like artistic informations, web series, songs, and there are a lot of things to improve their vocabulary. The next one is significance. How far the reading skills are given importance in online mode. Reading needs a lot of sub skills. Maybe it seems very easy while comparing to other three skills of language, but reading needs a lot of sub skills like familiarity of words, correct pronunciation, vocabulary, punctuation and phonemic awareness, word gaps, coherence and relativity between the words, understanding the concept, like lot of sub skills. But how the role of the teacher or the role of the college management is very important in creating a kind of reading habit and reading skills among the students. Pramita Talwar, LTI member, has quoted that books have the capacity to flowing in the veins of students. It allows them to escape to a new world. Then we are moving to the momentousness of grammar. How far grammar is given importance in online mode. Here we are supposed to quote, of course, Noam Chomsky, who gave us the universal grammar theory. He says, or he quoted that language is so complex with an unlimited combination of words, sounds, and phrases. He also quoted that all the world languages or languages in the world contains structure and rules. It takes a lifetime to teach rules and structures of languages to a new language learning child. A recent research and study also says that bilingual child who grew up as a bilingual child takes a long time to memorize and speak the words, because the receptive memory of the child's brain tries to keep the words of both the languages. So grammar, the teacher can able to assess the LSRW skills even through online mode, but checking how far the students are familiar or making themselves correct with grammar is somewhat difficult. They can only able to understand it only through some writing assignments. So they are in actual need to set an writing assignment. The recent research says that 74.5% of teachers only pinpoints the students' grammar error in their assignment, and 10.6% of teachers only just check here and there and correct their grammar, and shockingly 14.9% of English language teaching teachers don't even care about grammar. This is where the actual student fails to learn the grammatical skills, and he or she uses to tense a lot of grammar mistakes. Then we move on to speaking skills. Speaking is an act of making sounds, as everybody knows. Speaking activates all linguistics elements like listening, speaking, reading. These all comes under speaking skills. B.F. Skinner's behavioral theory. Behavioral theory is a theory which was quoted by B.F. Skinner. There in behavioral theory, he suggests that a language, a new child or a new man to a language learning acquires or just memorizes in the behavioral atmosphere. You know, when a Tamil child, when he or she is totally adopted in the atmosphere of English culture, he or she doesn't even know even a single word in Tamil. He actually used to adopt in English culture and English language. Behavioral theory says that children learn language through imitation, right? We try to imitate our mothers, we try to imitate our fathers when we are in our childhood stage. Then against to this behavioral theory, not against, as a reply to this behavioral theory, there is a theory called nativist theory, where in that theory the scientist says that language is innate for all newborn babies. We humans are for language. We humans are the only creatures in the world who know how to speak and how to use language and signals and communications in a right and proper way. Nativist theory says that the symptoms and the methods in learning a language and pronouncing and making a communication with others is psychologically and dermatically attained in our brain by uh, naturally in human minds. Thank you, ma'am.
Very interesting presentation on integrating different theories, and especially the hypothesis theory of Stephen Christian with the comprehensible input, and then even knowing like application of Chomsky's language acquisition device, because the moment the child is born, there is the language acquisition device, and then yes, as Mr. Gurumurthy says, even animals too have a language. Like we know, it's all the sounds. Language is nothing but sounds put together. So the sounds play an important role, and hence the phonemic awareness, and then the phonic approach initially in developing speech, listening and speaking, and then phonemic awareness for listening and speaking, and then phonics for reading and writing plays an important role. And then whatever the inputs that you provided are very, very comprehensible in terms of integrating the theories in order to help the higher level students, like students in the higher education sector. Because unless we strengthen the primary and secondary education, the higher education, the skills of the students in the higher education sectors will be hampered. So how do we really make that, tackle that issue at the higher education level? By the solution also has been provided in this particular study, where the graphic organizers and the digital resources. The visual audio visual resources at the higher level, and then there are many web resources like WebQuest and Google Earth and many other technology tools which can be integrated, which will make the learning very easy at the higher education level. And that was the input provided by Mr. Shivraj in this presentation. Very good study and presentation. Any questions regarding this to Mr. Shivraj? You can unmute yourself and then ask the question, or you can even type your questions in the chat for a minute. If there are no questions, then we'll proceed for the next presenter. Yes, please. Okay. I think there are no questions, so we'll move to the presentation by Ms. Sheila Rani. Over to you, Sheila.
Yes, ma'am.
You can come on the video mode.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, am I visible, ma'am?
Yes.
Audible
Yes.
as well?
Perfect. Please
Yeah.
proceed.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, ma'am. It's my honor and privilege to be a part of this international conference. And my concern for the students has actually propelled me to present this paper, because I teach in an engineering college and I'm dealing with higher education. I teach in Vasavi College of Engineering, Hyderabad, and this sudden shift from offline to online has laid, if I can say, a burden on my heart as to how I, as a teacher of higher education, especially professional stream like engineering, would make my students motivated enough to attend language classes of all the classes. So this is a humble presentation from the students' perspective in times like this, in trying times like the pandemic. Ma'am, if I can have the first slide, please. I will take, with your permission, I will take you on a journey right from the fear psychosis among students then, which is dating back to the pre-independence time to now. In just 1 or 2 minutes, I will tell you exactly how the student feels. If you see the history, we know that English language education has started in 1840s and 35, and then you have the minutes, Macaulay's minutes of 1835, where we say, the minute says that you have to prepare a class of people who are, Indian in blood and color, but English in their working style. So we know all that as English teachers and language teachers. We know that English has got its predominance in the Indian country, in the education system, with the East India Company, and everybody is talking about how English has to be administered to students. But my concern, my perspective is, how was it taken by the learners right from that time, where education in pre-independence era was actually thrust upon students. There was a fear then, because I am told, if I can quote Howritz and Coop, these two linguists have said that for students before the independence, before 1947, English was started in some schools where grammar and I would say imitation of the language was given more importance. So it was given to them because they had to perform a certain duty. Like I said, we looked at English as an elite language before independence, a language which is spoken only by a certain class of people, because they were called more educated. So thinking of the students from that time, where students had to look up to people who spoke English as somebody great, somebody really sophisticated, that fear was instilled in them. Now look at students coming from the background such as ours after post-independence. You find that students here are almost talking with each other on a daily basis in the language. But the way they speak has a lot to do with their cultural and social background. So are we looking at the correctness of language, so to say, in the present scenario? And I would say the students have become more or less accommodative of the language. I can speak the language is a cognitive, what do I say, a mindset that they have. So which is good. That makes our teachers, more comfortable in teaching the language. So we don't have to really think about teaching them the correctness of language in terms of the grammar and all, but give them opportunities. That's why in my slide I say the recognition of English as a language of opportunities, with globalization, with companies coming from overseas, with higher education going absolutely global, the opportunities are more. but the paradigmatic shift has also taken place from teacher-centric to learner-centric. So that's a good indication from the student's point of view. And coming to the actual situation now, which is the pandemic, I think fear has been instilled in everybody. If you take students, teachers, if you take the other, if not education stream, you take any other stream, this fear psychosis has been again put in. And when you talk about education, I think the education system has changed its complete functioning from offline to online and put the learner in the spot. That means the learner should be digitally equipped, the learner should be good with possessing gadgets, the learner should be also listening, paying attention. Look at the burden we put on the student's mind. So if a person, I would say, look at students from all backgrounds, from rural, from city, from urban, you find there are so many issues that they grapple with when you're talking about language in terms of education. Yeah, we are talking about, all of us know, we talk about LSRW and the enhancement of LSRW. But ma'am, can I have the next slide? I will focus on the three aspects of my research. If you can see that, the cognitive domain, the psychological domain, and the psychomotor domain. I will not dwell so much on LSRW because as English teachers, we know we have to make them better in all of these. I will touch upon them a little later, but I would want to see what are we giving in terms of the cognitive domain, the language domain, the knowledge domain. In terms of knowledge through online, what is it that we are asking our students to learn? Again, are we going back to grammar? Again, are we going back to the nuances of the language? So in the terms of knowledge, how have we enhanced the students' cognitive domain? Cognitive domain is all to do with knowledge, acquisition of knowledge. So I would say it's not only knowledge, it is synthesis, it is evaluation, it is analysis. So in cognitive domain, we are not limiting ourselves to just the knowledge part of the language, but we are talking about, are we equipping them with critical thinking? Are we equipping them with analysis of data? Are we equipping them with be creative in what they're doing? So what aspect should we, I think students, from the students' perspective, the knowledge domain is, the cognitive domain is not knowledge. Is the activity enhancing my creativity? I think that's the question my student is asking me. Why should I sit for a class that does not cater to any of my creative skills? It is not helping me analyze something. So if we as teachers can tailor our activities, language activities, to not only give them knowledge, but to help them critically analyze, to help them, create something, I think they will have more motivation to sit in our class. Second thing, I would say psychological domain is also the affective domain. It is also called the affective domain, which is attitude. So are we bringing about a change in attitude? If you look at the students' attitude, they're all laid back. My slides will tell you a little more about the study that I have conducted, and it will tell you what is the attitude that we are bringing about. Are we enhancing their attitude? Are we trying to make them completely robots? So what is the behavioral change that I ask some of my students these questions, and they say, ma'am, the best thing about language, online language teaching is I have the freedom. That's the best thing I can think of. I don't have the supervision of my teacher, trying to look into my notebook and picking out on my mistakes, or, I don't have to articulate face to face. So what I can say is just unmute myself and say something. I think I have that freedom. And I think that's where I picked my clue up. Am I giving enough freedom to my students in my class offline to be able to feel so free to interact? And that's another thing that I would like. So attitudinal and behavioral changes is something that my student wants. My student wants to be free. My student wants to be creative. My student wants to contribute in a very productive way. And the third thing is psychomotor skills. What are the skills we are teaching them? See, there are lots of platforms, there are lots of ways in which we can improve their skills. See, I have used Mentimeter in my class to make it more interactive. I have used Kahoot to framework to make my class more interesting and capture their attention. So I think skill in terms of how are we equipping our students, this is what they want from my language class. See, if we are talking about offline language teaching, we are talking about how interactive it gets. I had about 18 questions which I administered to my engineering students, and they told me the one thing that we miss about offline classes is the interaction, the discussion that happens, the projects that you give, ma'am, and we talk about the project. So there's a lot of agreeing, disagreeing, tearing apart each other's ideas and trying to outdo. That is the thing that we are missing out on. So can we put that somewhere through all these platforms? Ma'am, can I have the next slide? So my research study was this. My question was, did students English language competencies no, ma'am, can I have the previous slide where my research question is? Thank you. My students' English language competencies improved through online mode. So when I say improved, have I touched upon the cognitive, the affective, and the psychomotor domain? If not, then we are missing out on one of the three. Then my target audience, so I have administered, like I said, I have administered Google Forms with 18 questions to undergraduate engineering students and other BA, BSc, BCom students, institutions from Hyderabad. And I was questioning them on these three domains. Has it improved? So, ma'am, can I have the next slide? It shows
ma'am, you just have a minute remaining, ma'am.
Yeah, I will complete. Thank you so much. If you see the cognitive, the affective, and the psychomotor domain, you find that my students in the cognitive domain say, I have knowledge of, if you can read that skill offline to online, then creative thinking, improvement in language, they all say from the cognitive domain, I have knowledge enough to talk. I have knowledge enough to write a little bit. I have knowledge enough to, do the LSRW. But most of all, I am not able to exhibit that to a satisfactory level because I don't find language classes going beyond knowledge. I want critical thinking. I want analysis. I'm talking about higher level engineering students, engineering students of first and third year. For them, I think this online classes should bring about the analysis part, the evaluation part, the critical part. So that is what is lacking in the cognitive domain among my students. Then if you take about the attitude, they have, you see, all of their attitude is good, ranging from very good to excellent, because they are pinned to, they know, for me, I have my job opportunity, my career domain, my career opportunities is something that is awaiting me, and my language is what is a gateway through it. So I have to be good with improving my attitude. So they are glued. How are we going to do that? We are going to get them to be absolutely ingrained in the class through using a lot of platforms like Mentimeter and Kahoot, and give them graphs, give them lots of things. So the motivational levels is what we need to touch upon when we are talking about attitude, behavioral attitude, and change in attitude. Then if I can have the last slide, ma'am. This is about the skill. And like I divided that into 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And obviously they said there's less of writing to do on an online activity. So I don't think reading and writing have catered to any of my language skills. So, and the last slide, ma'am, the conclusions that I draw from the study is, surprisingly, they all love English classes. Because I thought before I administered the Google Forms, they would have told me, ma'am, engineering subjects like BEM, and engineering mechanics and all are so, I mean, they are very strict, and they are all so full of knowledge. So probably we'll have to attend that more seriously than English classes. But to my surprise, they say we love sitting in an English class, a language class, because that is where they get the what do I say, the energy to express themselves the way they feel about the language. So interactively, how can we make them more interactive in an online mode is what is a challenge among the teachers. And then I would say a little bit like on the reading and the writing side, my students say, ma'am, the reading and the writing side should improve. So the last point I put there is when you talk about the domain in terms of the psychomotor competencies, it's the reading and writing that has to improve is what my students say, ma'am. So I'd like to conclude here. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, ma'am. Padma, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, there is one question by Nisha. She says, do you think the assessment is only about the scores, marks? It is an emotional bondage too.
Yeah,
Can you respond to that?
Right, ma'am. I totally agree with Nisha, ma'am, because that's exactly why I said attitude and behavior. We have a connect. See, the fact that my students say we attend English classes with so much of interest and what do I say? Love, if I can use that word, itself shows there is a connect between the English language teacher and the students, because probably we allow them to be who they are. So I think it's not about scores and marks, and at the end of the day, how much have they taken away from our classes is what counts.
Okay. I mean, this particular paper presentation really highlighted on the nuances of language acquisition, language learning, and language appreciation in the higher education sector. I think we can term, instead of telling it as language acquisition skills or language learning, we can say that we have to move towards helping children acquire language arts, because human expression is the ultimate. Human beings crave for expression of the deeper thoughts, and then the emotions, the feelings, and then their understanding, their experiences are to be shared in the form of stories and language, English language, because it's a language which is borrowed from Latin, Greek, and many other European languages. And then now we have world Englishes, where there is need not pick up a native accent as such, but then you can help. You can only, we as facilitators or academicians, teachers, or organic intellectuals have to move towards promoting or creating spaces to express. So how well we do that, and how well we integrate all this behavior and constructive theories in terms of developing the materials and resources, and even creating space, matters a lot. And online has provided, like the first thing that, this presentation was on freedom. Freedom matters. Without freedom and without liberty, you will not be able to explore yourself, or you will not be able to reach to the extent of whatever the affective in psychomotor domains. Cognition easily happens, or knowledge is easily acquired, and then we have the bombarding of knowledge with all this technology intervention. But then how do we balance all this is a real thing. And then yes, this can be termed as an ethnographic study, being in the engineering college and then understanding children directly day in and day out, doing a case study and then interacting. Very good. Any questions to Ms. Sheila Rani, please? If you have, you can raise your questions, or we'll move to Mr. Nilesh Kumar's presentation. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. It's a pleasure.
Mr. Nilesh, are you there? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm ready.
Yeah.
My slides, please.
By the time the slides are up, I just want to appreciate Ms. Sheila Rani for coming up with the usage of Mentimeter and then Kahoot. When you're using these, you need to identify the suitable competency, and then you need to reflect on the learning outcomes, and then start identifying the technology tools that you can make use. So it all depends on the teacher's creativity and the knowledge of technology that one possesses. Yes, please. Mazia, Nilesh Kumar's presentation, please. Mazia says she doesn't have your slides. Would you like to present? She will make you the presenter, and where you can do the slide presentation yourself.
Yeah, ma'am.
You can share the screen, sir.
Yeah.
1 minute.
You
ma'am.
just
Ma'am, my screen is visible to you?
Yes, it's started. You can go to the presentation.
Hello?
Yes, we can see it.
So, can I start now, ma'am?
yes, please. Please.
Yes,
present.
if you click on present mode, sir, we'll be able to see it clearly.
Okay. ma'am.
No, you should run the slides. Yeah.
Okay, now?
Now it's perfect. Perfect.
Is it okay? Yes.
It's perfect. Please start.
Yeah. So, good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nilesh Kumar Panchal. I am a primary teacher. I am speaking from Maharashtra. And I am presenting this research work for Regional Institute of English, South India. I am very happy that I got such opportunity to present my research work in such an international conference, because I work as a primary teacher in government school in a rural area, but I am trying to put my work on such a huge platform, and I am trying to learn a lot from this also. So before knowing my research topic, I want to tell the background of my research topic. That is, as we all know, the present pandemic situation has changed the way of teaching learning process from face to face to online mode. And as a part of this, I also doing all my activities in online mode. But I found that some of my students are not getting good academic achievements. I am finding that the students were struggling with some things, and this thing triggered me. This thing triggered me to think about the problem, because very few students were doing with academic achievement, and most of them were not doing good. So I thought about this, and I found that the students who were not doing well in their academic achievement were struggling with the home assignments which were given in online class. And I come to my topic, which is as my research topic: why do students of grade 4 don't complete their home assignments of English given in online class? Here I used a term, home assignments. It is defined in dictionary, the work that is assigned by teacher to do at the home. And Cooper, who had make a great research according to the home assignments, he also mentioned its definition as a work assigned by teacher to do by the students out of the school environment. Okay, so my objectives for this research topics are two. The first one is to find out the reasons for not completing home assignments, and second objective of my research topic is to find out the solutions for it. As it is a exploratory action research, I want to understand the dimensions of my topic. For that, I used some research questions to explore the topic and understand it from all the way. So my first research question was, what challenges do students face while completing the home assignments? My second research question was, what type of home assignments do students not complete? And my last research question was, why is it important to complete the home assignments? So while exploring the topic, I have collected some data, and to collect this data, I used some data collections tools. For the first research question, to understand the challenges that students were facing, I used here questionnaire. It contains 12 questions, or knowing what type of home assignments students were not completing. To understand this, I used here checklist to collect the data. And for the last question, to understand the importance of home assignments that students were completing and its impact on their studies, I used here my own written reflection as a data collection tool. After collecting the data, I analyzed it and find out some findings that helped me for the further action. So after analysis of the first data collection tool, I got these findings. As you can see on the screen, the 12 students participated in this research work. Out of 12, 7 students said that they feel home assignments difficult. 10 students said that the home assignments were difficult to them because they can't understand the instructions given in English in the home assignments, and they don't have any helping hand too while completing their home assignments, because the students belongs to the rural area, their parents are illiterate as far as the English language is concerned. And the last finding, as we can see chart, that 11 students out of 12, that is 92% students, said that they feel bored while copying home assignments from the cell phone and go for the answers. And they can't copy also because there is no availability of cell phone, because their family have only one cell phone, they can't afford many cell phones. Okay. When I looked over the data I got from the second tool, that is checklist, I have given them 5 type of home assignments. And as you can see in this graph, with all the home assignment types, students were struggling. And the number of students who were not completing their home assignments is greater compared to the students who were completing home assignments. So, on the basis of all this data, I have designed a plan of action to overcome this problem. My plan of action is divided in 3 parts. At first, I provided dedicated worksheets to the students, because in this pandemic, I have to visit my school at least once in a week. That time I provided them the hard copies with all the rules and regulations. Then these worksheets are differentiated in the form and hard copies in the nature, because the purpose behind this is that to make the availability of worksheets to the students for all the time. And the second purpose is they don't need to copy the home assignments from the cell phone and then go for the answers. These 2 purposes helped me to overcome some of the part of the problem. The second part of the plan of action is I have given them instructions in English and their mother tongue also, because the parents of students were illiterate, they can't help their kids. So this thing will help them to understand while completing their home assignments, and they can do the home assignment at their own. Last point of my action is giving regular feedback to them. In fact, these worksheets are provided for each week. Okay. So students will complete the home assignments for planned particular day, and they take it snapshot and send it me to my cell phone on WhatsApp. I checked it and give them feedback comments to improve it, or give some greetings for doing well. This thing helped me to motivate and guide my students, and I that students were performing nice. So I did all these things or implemented this plan of action for 3 weeks and collected some data. The collected data I analyzed with help of the checklist that is in the next slide. As you can see on the right side, that is mentioned post observations. Here you can see that number of students who were completing the home assignments is increased compared to the previous data. It means the plan of action worked here. It showed positive implications. And this thing is most important for me, that students who were struggling with all type of home assignments had shown positive results. Here I would like to mention so politely that students have less access of internet and cell phones. That's why the number of students who were completing online interactive activities is less. This is the biggest problem of rural area. But we have overcome this problem by using these worksheets. At last, the conclusion of this research, I want to say that I found two reasons for not completing home assignments. The first one is that student found home assignments difficult, and second was that the copying home assignments from cell phone was boring and impossible for the students. To overcome this problem, I planned a plan of action, and this plan of action is designed in 3 parts. At first, I provided worksheets which were differentiated in nature and hard copies in the form. It is combined with continuous feedback for their work, and all this process showed the teaching implications in the positive way. The problem is not solved completely, but results showed that this thing is working to enhance the performance of students. The number of students who are completing the home assignments is increased here. Thank you so much for listening me so patiently. I would like to stop my presentation here. Ma'am. Hello?
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful presentation of the grassroots difficulty, and especially focusing on home assignment, and then their completion of home assignment, and then hand-holding. And like it takes us to the whole, like why assignment? What is the main purpose behind assignment? Like it's an extended learning opportunity that is created in the system of education, it is one of the offlet, all across the globe, people are moving towards project as in home assignment. Project in the sense, every component of whatever the competency or the curriculum that is to be transacted, they are integrating with the project method. Yes, please. Are you able to hear? Yes, so Hasini, you have raised your hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please unmute yourself. Yeah. So home assignment, what is the purpose behind home assignment? It is again to engage the child in a very, very happy endeavor, but then it should not become a burden. And as it is during the conventional classroom setting itself, we find it difficult, and then it is most of the time viewed as a punitive thing. If you don't complete your home assignment, teachers there is a tendency, like there has to be a cultural shift that has to happen. But instead, the punishment or the assessment, the scoring has taken over the real problems of the child. So there are many dimensions to it. When you take child rights perspective, and then the linguistic rights of the children, and then whatever the process that we adopt, and then the classroom, the pedagogy that we adopt, and then the approaches that we follow. See, we have John Dewey's experimental school, where children learn, and especially we have a model in our country itself, Shantiniketan, where every child, according to theory of multiple intelligence of Gardner's theory, if we need to create space for children, and then we need to give opportunity for them to enhance their capabilities that are already inbuilt. So in doing that, it requires teacher to be very resourceful and very enabled. So we, in the system, in the schooling process, both in the school and the family, we need to have enabling conditions for children's learning. And so home assignment again comes as the teacher in the school will be addressing, and after that, once the child comes, home assignment can be of variety of kinds, right? The play, experiencing the total physical response, and then maybe experiences, drawing of experiences, all that. So it is a very serious topic to be debated. Wonderful presentation. Any questions to Mr. Neelesh from the audience? And especially it becomes a challenge without knowing the technicalities of addressing this. And if we just, teacher gives a home assignment, which is very difficult, we don't know the issue of the child. Say, for example, I had an experience, like a particular child was regularly irregular to school. She used to be late and all that. But the teacher, being a sensitive teacher, if the teacher questions the child as to what is the difficulty in being late or regularly being irregular, so then the realities will come. So teachers, I think the approach to address children has to change. So that is one insight that I felt I have to share. Yes, Joseph Kamlech says, during this pandemic time, the primary school children have practically been left out in many rural schools. It's not left out. There's an open statement educators already out of the school, and there are very yeah.
Ma'am,
Yes,
they
please.
say, when statistics says, ma'am, that about around 32 crore learners have stopped going to school.
And even, yes.
Yeah, 32 crore school going children have stopped going to school. So you can imagine the kind of the kind of education that has been completely taken away from them. Especially rural students, they have been cut off from education. It's like severing something.
Yes,
so
yes. I do agree. And then, Ms. Sheila, you're raising a very serious concern, which is actually drifting from Mr. Neelesh presented. If we start discussing on that, it'll be a panel discussion in a big way.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying that how difficult it will be for students to actually access education itself in this pandemic.
When that is the case, imagine we are adopting online, and then whatever your study, Neelesh has really highlighted the difficulty. Right. It gives the difficulty of the students, the difficulty in parents ensuring that the children complete their assignment, and then teacher completion. All this will put a lot of trauma. Anyway, we need to reflect on this deeply and debate. Yeah. Yes, please. Over to Nisha now. Nisha, are you connected? And if there is no issue, I think you can start presenting. Nisha will be presenting the paper on develop.
Ma'am, Miss Suhasini has raised her hand again.
Yeah, please unmute yourself, Suhasini, and then speak. She's not responding. Okay.
Ma'am.
Yes. Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible and visible too. Yes.
So, presentation, please, and let me navigate my presentation.
You want to do it, or do you need the help?
Yeah. No, I will navigate. You can make me navigate the
Yeah.
presentation.
Mazi, yeah. Mazi,
Yeah.
can you help?
Okay. Now it's okay. Ma'am.
Dr. Sudhir, please unmute yourself and speak. You can unmute, sir, yourself and speak.
Ma'am, can I now?
No, just a minute. Marzia,
Okay.
can you help Dr. Sudhir to come on the audio mode? Dr. Sudhir? Okay.
So you'll have to click the mic icon and get into the microphone mode. Right now you are on listen only.
Dr. Sudhir? Sir, you need to come on the audio mode and then please unmute and speak.
So you can also type in your question in the chat.
If you're not able to, yes, you can type your question or a query on the chat. Okay, over to Nisha for the presentation. Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon to one and all respected dignitaries, organizers of this international webinar, including Padmasree Ma'am and most respected participants. I am Nisha Pandau from Diet Ernakulam, working as senior lecturer. Let me present my title before you first. Do at home package for retaining language skills acquired by 4th and 5th grade students of Kerala. As we all know, schools at all levels across the world have temporarily shut their doors. Children are the most affected victims of corona pandemic days. Teachers and academic groups have started many programs to make sure that learning never stops. As a teacher educator, I was also trying to develop some activities for the elementary students which can be done from their home itself. During Corona period, children had completely lost the English language input from the classroom in the beginning stage. The interaction with the teachers and parents revealed the need of language support for the children. Teachers and parents were thinking deeply about English language support to be given for the children to ensure the use of language they have achieved before the pandemic days. Thus, my objectives are ensuring English language learning continuity of 4th and 5th grade students, recognizing how creative and comfortable learning environment can support the online language learning activity package, identifying various strategies for making online activities creative and comfortable, inculcate natural interest and involvement in learning English language. Now we will come into the methodology. Implementing an online English language activity package and analyzing the qualitative reflections are the method used for the study. Considering the samples, 120 students were considered as a sample from different schools, 60 students from 4th grade and 60 students from 5th grade were included. And various tools were implemented to collect the impact and effectiveness of the program. Questionnaire for focus group discussion. The questionnaire included language learning, what are the language learning gaps, need of comfortable learning environment, online strategies, need of home-based activities, and the effective role of parents, etc. were included in the focus group discussion. After the discussion, the same points were discussed through a brainstorming session of content and methodology development of this learning material. A group of expert teachers from diets, BRCs, and resource group were participated in the group, and they fixed and organized their viable activity package. Various strategies for implementation were discussed in the group, and all the available online resources such as WhatsApp, Telegram, YouTube, Facebook were added for implementing the activity package. Then coming to the activity package, yeah, the activity package were prepared to give exposure for LSRW skills. And all the activities were taken from their life situation. The input was categorized into video, audio, and reading text and interaction, etc. The activities were given to children of 4th and 5th grade through teachers on alternate days. So 15 activities for each grade was selected for the program. An interim feedback was taken from the students and teachers to know the qualitative, to assure the quality of the how it is going on well in the field after 5 activities or 10 days. Then a whole program evaluation was also done after completing the activity package. Now, coming to the whole implementation of the program, the activities were mainly based on video prepared. The activity package video included simple stories, poems, cartoons, puppetry, nature walk, acting, cooking, whatever they can do from their home. All the videos had a small listening input, and around 150 teachers were enjoying directly these activities. One of the activities was how to make a coronavirus, and the children made the model of corona using the wheat, the mud, the ball, etc. And they made it creatively as with the things available at home. And there was a dialogue box to say something what you want to say, share to your coronavirus. Then some of the children said that go corona, go away, and we hate you. You spoiled our school days, like that. Such comments came from 4th grade students. And for the 5th grade students, one of the activity was completing a form that was related to this pandemic period, and wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands with soap and water, wash your hands till you make it clean. So the children were asked to complete the poem, and after that a recorded version of the poem was given to them, and they are asked to write down the lines of the poem and sing it with the rhythm. And most of the students beautifully presented it with their own action. It was very attractive. And this teacher group of 30 students considered for the study were formed for receiving feedback from the parents, teachers, as well as the students. Each teacher gave learning evidence or feedback of 4 students. Thus, it became 120. And now coming to the findings, through the activity package, the language learning continuity was able to ensure the 4th and 5th grade students. In the 15 activities, 11 activities gave emphasis for listening, and 7 activities emphasized in reading, and 13 activities gave slot for writing skills as far as the 4th grade were considered. Out of this, 90% of the children, that is 54 out of 60, would comprehend the given text and instruction as required. As a result of this listening input, then 85% of the students could read a text with a pitch tone variation by comprehending the idea. Then considering the writing skill, 70% of the students could express their ideas sequentially connected to the theme of given in the activity. And as far as the 5th grade is concerned, the listening, reading, and writing reached to 95%, 75%, and 70% respectively. Okay, and the findings are the online strategies ensuring a creative and a comfortable language environment will enhance language acquisition of children. So we ensure this comfortable environment at home by all teachers and parents. Then this sort of activity-oriented experiential mode of online interaction will engage children creatively. There are slots for creative, what we say, language formation in the children. Then blending of technology into activities will enhance language acquisition of the children, that we all know. The children are curious to take their own video. They have to upload their video, their audio, so they were eager to engage in each and every activities. When children are interested to doing systematic, innovative online activities because the teachers were with them. They were kindling their ideas as far as possible. Now we will be moving to the concluding remarks that the complete joyful involvement of children in language learning will be better if we include direct teacher interaction in the centralized mode. Either DIET or CRT or DRC cannot give a centralized mode of this learning. The teachers themselves should find their own alteration for whatever is given in centrally mode. Then the teachers learned the hierarchy of using digital aids, how I can blend the listening, how I can blend the writing skill, how I can add reading text to one activity package. Then children are getting more responsible role in their language learning since they have to record their performance. They will do it again and again. They want to upload a perfect version of their creativity and their learning evidence. And to the labs, I found that I realized as a teacher educator, I realized that this sort of small activity packages will help children to nourish their language. Even after pandemic days, we can give these sort of activities to make them charge. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for kindly patiently listening my presentation. Thank you all.
I mean, Madam, your study, Nisha, was really focusing on the way in which we can make efforts in making education or language learning a completely joyful one. So it really highlighted on the nuances, and especially creating materials as well as language learning activities, skill-wise or sub-component-wise matters a lot, and that was the focus of your presentation. And then ultimately, why all of us are making efforts in order and striving hard. It's only to raise a child in a very good environment, and what are the struggles that we have in order to make the child have a joyful childhood. I think that is the crux, and then your presentation through light on all those aspects. Wonderful one. And then specifically it focused on language learning, and then skill-wise integration of technology tools online. Not only that, like we are grappling with the new situation in terms of finding ways and means to enhance proper learning among children, linking theories, practices, and then our own experiences. But then we need to even reflect on the issues that are present in different regional contexts. And as Mohan Raj sir said, making learning contemporary and useful takes us a long way, because creativity, critical thinking, and then the skills, and then the happiness index of the child matters a lot. So in what way can we do all that? So this particular paper threw light on those. Very good, madam, and thank you so much. Yes. Shivraj says, ma'am, but involving materialistic things in homework creates trouble for parents. What do you think about it? Yes, I personally feel that because of the socio-economic status, many a times parents cannot afford the digital devices to children, because many a times parents struggle for their own existence, or 3 meals a day. In that case, imagine providing. So it's again a big debatable issue. Yes, multiple problems and multiple issues. Yes, we need to reflect on those. Yes, please. Okay. Dr. Bashir says, one question to Ms. Nisha. What was the nature of your activity package? Was it discourse-based?
Yeah, it was discussed by sir. Each activity was video or whatever input given to the children were leading to one sort of discourse. And I had written it in the whole paper in detail. All the discourses mentioned for 4th grade and 5th grade were included in the activity package. Thank you, sir.
And especially strengthening the primary levels of learnings play a very, very important role in the lives of in terms of competencies acquired by children in the higher levels. So I think the focus basically has to be more on primary and secondary education in terms of shaping the child for future. Yeah. Well done, madam. Next, over to Mr. Muralidhar and Joseph D'Souza. Are you there? Muralidhar? Mr. Joseph?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Joseph, ma'am. I'm here, ma'am.
Yeah, please.
Can I start, ma'am?
Mr. Joseph is presenting a paper titled Educational Relevance and Challenges Ahead in the Pandemic Situation, Developing a Positive and Effective Approach to Online English Language Teaching. So, yes, over to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second, Mr. Joseph. Dr. Sudhir is on the audio mode. Yes, sir.
No, nothing. Everything excellent, madam. Good afternoon. Very
Thank
good
you.
afternoon. Excellent presentation. And please go ahead because please see the learning outcomes, how it comes even during the pandemic period. Whether we can achieve through online mode, to what extent we can achieve, and what sort of improvement or modification we have to bring in. That can be brought out during the discussions.
Yes,
or
sir.
what type of changes are needed for language teaching, especially English language teaching. That
Yes,
will
sir.
be a great, especially
Yes, sir.
Nisha's presentation was very outstanding. Of course, the other two also giving assignments and how the students were finding it difficult. But how we can cope up with the situation, that is needed.
The solution.
Dr. Padmas, that is very much needed. Thank you, Padmas.
Yes.
Thank you so
You should
much.
have come on the video mode, sir, so that, yes.
Earlier, I was not able to, again, now I am getting into the video mode also. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
your views are very well taken, sir, because the whole purpose of carrying out conferences, seminars, and sharing experiences only to bring the change in the grassroots. And it gives that research-based input, so in order to devise many programs and interventions accordingly. So that's the whole purpose. Yes, very true. Thank you.
Please carry on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, over to Joseph.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon. I am Joseph D'Souza Kamalesh. I'm currently pursuing my PhD at Vellore Institute of Technology, Vellore, Tamil Nadu. And my guide is Dr. Nageshwari. And for this conference, I've chosen the topic Educational Relevance and Challenges Ahead in this Pandemic Situation, Developing a Positive and Effective Approach to Online English Language Teaching. Next slide, ma'am. Following the first-time identification of coronavirus in December 2019, the World Health Organization declared that COVID-19 is a global pandemic in March 2020 and warned about its highly contagious nature. And then strict protocols were followed all over the world, like partial lockdowns, social distancing regulations, curfews, etc. And to reduce the chances of humans infecting each other with COVID-19, places where humans interact closely were shut down, including educational institutions. And accordingly, as an outcome of the measures taken worldwide, more than 1.5 billion enrolled students of all ages from all around the globe experienced interruption of education, which equals nearly 90% of the global student population. Though the interruption of education has occurred previously in many local instances, such as war, famine, or some civil unrest, this pandemic situation has left us experiencing a lockdown where it has affected the main three stakeholders in the field of education, namely students, parents, and teachers, in different ways. So I've just listed out a few ways in how they have been affected very much. And various terms are used all over the world to describe this type of online education, like distance education, e-learning, online education, homeschooling, etc. But what we have adopted now during this pandemic situation is actually emergency remote education, ERE. The difference between emergency remote education and distance education is that distance education is an option, but whereas emergency remote education is an obligation. So we had no other way, so we had to resort to this way of education, and it has had its positives as well as the negatives. Just a few effects of COVID-19 pandemic situation on education I've just enlisted here. The first one is the predicament of the students. Many of the students have now taken online classes, spending additional time on virtual platforms, which have left children vulnerable to online exploitation. Increased and unstructured time spent on online learning has exposed children to potentially harmful and violent content, as well as a greater risk of cyberbullying. And we have seen this in the past 1 year. In India also, we've heard many cases of this. And another issue here is those learners with a fixed mindset find it difficult to adjust and adapt to this type of online education, whereas the learners with a growth mindset quickly adapt to a new learning environment. So the teachers are left with facing these kinds of students. So one are very slow, one group is very slow, the other group is very fast to adapting to this new normal situation, and that is a challenge which the teachers face, and the students, especially the slow learners, find it very difficult to adapt to this new situation. And the effectiveness of online teaching among various groups is different actually. We had Mr. Nilesh presenting about the primary school kids. Primary school kids and kindergarten kids, they require structured environment and personal one-to-one communication because they are more easily distracted, whereas the elder ones can concentrate for a little more time. So that one particular predicament was there on part of the students. The second one faced by the teachers, various difficulties were actually faced by the teachers. I've just enlisted a few here. The teachers are in a dilemma as to whom to listen to and which tools to adopt. Something pre-recorded videos would do better, but that would really restrict the interaction between the student and the teacher. And all the students, the assignments and examinations are carried out from home. And therefore, it is challenging for the teachers to find out the authenticity of the work and the actual learning that has been taking place for quite a few months during this pandemic situation. And therefore, the grading of students has been a big problem, especially during this pandemic time. And still we are wondering what to do with the +2 students now in, especially in Tamil Nadu, we see that because they have to enroll into the higher education institutions. Until now, we are not very sure about how they would be graded. And that is one difficult task which all the teachers in the schools are facing. And the third one is sense of anxiety and pressure. And this is applicable to all the three stakeholders in this field, teachers, students, and the parents as well. Because especially after the second wave of Corona coming in, everybody was affected. I remember last year, during the first wave, it was like a long extended holiday for most of us. You would hear cases about infection somewhere to some people and death here and there. But during the second wave, we were hearing so much about infection in our own families and deaths in our own families, friends, and nearby places. And this was really adding to the anxiety and pressure which all of us were facing. And along with it, we had to go along with the regular work and the educational process of the students and our own children. And therefore, this one particular aspect, especially during the second wave, was very much affecting. And many of us had faced that anxiety and pressure. And the economic crisis and digital divide, right from the first wave, it has been here because many had lost their jobs or they were given only partial salary, half salary, and therefore the financial crisis in the family. So the payment of fees, everything is interconnected. And this digital divide between the rural and the urban students has always been there. And that was very much seen during this pandemic time because the students in the rural areas had no access to internet. There was no continuous electric connectivity, and many such problems were faced by the students in the rural areas. And the last one is gender issues. And during this lockdown, one key which was followed to stop the spreading of COVID-19 was lockdown. But this actually negatively affected the women folk, especially the adolescent girls and the women who were at home. And in many countries, there have been reports of increased domestic and sexual violence. And at home, the parents had to play the role of caretakers, teachers, and they have to take care of all the domestic works as well. And the women had to balance between home and their profession. And that was an additional burden which especially fell on the women folk, and especially the mothers. They had to take on the role of teachers when it came to taking care of the kids at home who were doing online education. So that was one problem which really affected the women folk. Next slide, ma'am. Now coming to the positive and effective approach to online English language teaching, even as we were struggling with all these challenges, there have been some factors which have been very positive about this online teaching, especially from the students. For students, it is easy for them to write than to speak. So when they have to speak in the class, they would have to be very, very careful about the language, the pronunciation, everything. But here, everything would be put in the chat box, and they have time to check everything if the spelling is correct and if they are putting the right words. And before pressing the send button, they had the time to see what they had actually typed there. And for those having English as second language, the non-native speakers, those had problem with the pronunciation or they were a little embarrassed to speak in public. For them, this kind of online teaching was a kind of relief before because they could type, read, and then send the thing finally. And even before they could speak, they could actually rehearse and then open their mouth during the online class. So that time they had. So some statistics say that some students felt comfortable regarding that. And many of the classes were recorded and given to the students later. And those slow learners who were finding it difficult to catch up with the regular speed of the class, they felt it very comfortable so that they could come back at their own speed, go through the video and then catch up with the rest of the class. So these are some positive things which the students found during online teaching. But ultimately, when it comes to making the online teaching effective and giving it to the students in a positive way, ultimately the responsibility lies on the teachers. So the teachers have to read the signs of the times and respond positively to address the needs of the students. In one of the articles I read, one author by name Penny Ur, he says that teachers who have been teaching for 20 years may be divided into two categories: those with 20 years experience and those with 1 year's experience repeated 20 times. So he says sometimes we as teachers could actually fall into the trap of repeating the same thing which we have done years before. And therefore, this pandemic time has been a great challenge for us teachers to adapt ourselves to the new normal situation which has come up. And some of the suggestions given by language teachers across the globe, I've just listed them here. First one is taking care of the well-being of the learners in the learning process. Because English language learning is difficult for students who are having it as a second language, especially students from rural areas. And therefore, teachers must help the students to maintain a positive attitude during this learning process. And for that, the teachers have to be really very, very careful in making them feel comfortable during the language classes. That is one particular thing. Second one is positive psychology interventions. This is nothing but during the learning process, there is a problem of learners' low engagement. this could be due to fear or various other factors regarding this language learning. So the teachers have to devise activities which will actually cultivate positivity in the entire learning process. So that is called positive psychology interventions, creating activities and giving positive stroke to the students. And by this, the teachers will be able to learn all the issues and challenges that the student community is facing, and then the teacher will be in a position to respond to the needs of the students. And the third one, constructive and individual feedback. This feedback is a very crucial part of our teaching process, and therefore the teachers have to be very careful in this feedback process. The feedback has to be very corrective and progressive, and individual feedback is always appreciated by the students, and therefore the teachers should be very careful in giving feedback, and the students with individual feedback and specific written comments to their assignments will always be highly appreciated by the students. So that is one thing we have to take care as teachers. Next one. And
so you have just half a minute, sir, remaining.
Yes, ma'am. And next one we have to be very careful is about designing the materials, and therefore I've just given a few examples. During the situation, we have had many new vocabulary coming in and often used conversations. Words like quarantine, social distancing, sanitizing, these kinds of words were often used. And based on this, we could create activities. I've just listed them there. Slogan writing, poster creation, everything. Next slide. One example I've given here, during the meeting, we often use terms. I mean, sentences like, can you repeat that? I didn't hear, my video isn't working. These were often used during this. Most of us in India used Google Meet or Zoom. And here one particular teacher has created a material based on this. On one side, the teacher has given the problem, and on the side B, he has given all the sentences used. So the students have to match. For example, you see, you can't see another participant. The answer is D, have you turned on your video? Like that. So based on the problem that they faced and the sentences, often the conversation they've had often during this online, she has created a beautiful match the following. And this is very interesting. And from there, they're able to learn the sentences and the new vocabulary. That's one example I've given here. Next slide, ma'am. And therefore, we have to conclude that positive action is not one actually. It is a combination of all the approaches we're able to make to intervene and during the learning process of the students. And therefore, when we come back to the normal situation, we have to carefully balance between offline and online activities. And the way forward, three important things is, the first one, policy level intervention. The government and the school management, they have to make proper policies to ensure that the education continues in a very, very effective way. The second one, making online teaching creative, innovative, and interactive through user-friendly tools. And this has to be developed by the various organizations involved in the online teaching. And we teachers have to update ourselves technologically so that we are able to use them to teach our students better. The last one, we have to continue using online tools to enhance teacher and learning, because once we come back to schools and we resume teaching, we may run the risk, or we may sometimes leave online as a method which is not needed now. But now the real challenge lies in carefully balancing between offline and online teaching, using all the technologies that we have learned during this pandemic situation and carefully carrying them forward so that we ensure very positive and effective ways of teaching English to the students. So this is what this is a very theoretical approach, and I'm just working on another paper where I'm trying to use Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, and teach college students English. That's another experimental paper which I'm working on. So this pandemic situation has given us a variety of options to explore the possibilities abounding in the world, the technological thing that is there. And with that, we're able to respond to the needs of the students and teach English in a more effective and positive way. Thank you.
Mr. Joseph Kamle's paper especially highlighted on providing positive reinforcement and various approaches that we have to follow in order to address this online English language teaching. And then there is a mention about the policy. Policy at various levels we can think of. Policy at the with respect to the technology tools itself, the regulatory mechanisms, and then policy with respect to using the resources, the education material, curriculum, and then the different platforms. And apart from that, maybe a way in which all the technology tools, the sharing of the resources, all this will really help. And then this particular presentation focused on, say, for example, during my training of teachers, always it's a positive approach that we follow. Like we encourage the teachers, we don't snub or we don't say, we have got to be very, very patient in order to address when we are in face-to-face mode itself. But imagine how much of patience we require in order to address students without affecting their the psyche. In terms of it is very, very difficult to know what is happening on the other side. We cannot even know the difficulty that they're encountering. And with all that, I think the understanding itself, I think we need to make a lot of efforts in order to understand what is happening, and then practical experience. We need to put ourselves in their shoe. Teachers have to put ourselves in the children's shoe or the trainees' shoe, and then see and then assess what is the situation. And then, because once the ego or once the confidence of the students is lost, while giving the feedback and reinforcement, it becomes very difficult for the child to overcome. It might hamper the whole it might affect the children very badly. So very good suggestions regarding positive reinforcement, and then the effective way of addressing the online English language teaching. Any questions to Mr. Joseph? If your audience have, you can raise your questions. Sheila Rani Simon says, blended learning is the need of the hour. Yes, it all depends on the different subjects, and especially with respect to English language, what you're addressing, whether it is listening and speaking, or whether it is reading, or whether it is writing, or you're addressing spelling, or say vocabulary development or reference. So all these skills need a different set of tools. And hence, integrating that is, as Sheila Rani is suggesting, the blended learning will help us. Yes. Any questions? Otherwise, I think we are done for the day. Mr. Muralidhar, are you there? Yes. So I think we have finished all the paper presentations. Any other views? Like the delegates here can unmute yourself, and then please feel free to speak. Yeah.
Ma'am, can I say something?
Yes, please.
Ma'am.
Actually, we have time till 5 o'clock. But anyway, we can just take a break if we are done with. Yes. Shabna, over to, yes, Shabna. Sorry, Sheila Rani.
Yeah, ma'am, actually, I was thinking in terms of, we've been speaking in terms of the student trying to, really get online and learn and acquire language, all that. But I'm also forced to think, how new is this teacher's experience as well? See, there are some teachers who haven't taken to WhatsApp, or there are some teachers who haven't even clicked a button in terms of, the different platforms that are available, different tools that are available. So I think the challenge is also to the teacher to get technologically savvy, as much as it is to the students, because I think from the students' point of view, they are millennials. If we are teaching the millennials, let's say about 10th class, 10 plus 2 in undergrads, they are born with technology. So I think for them, it's a natural thing that happens. I think for teachers, for us, the shift has been a little more, what do I say, difficult. I wouldn't use the word difficult, a learning experience, because we had taken online as a forced thing upon us, because we had no other choice and education had to go on. And all training was devoted to equipping teachers to become online, whereas students' perspective to actually learning online was a little sideline. But then this conference, I felt, gave us that insight into how students also felt online teaching is. And then that's just an input I wanted to share, ma'am.
Yeah, but I do agree with whatever views that you express, because many a times, like it's something like swimming. A teacher who's not exposed to water, to get into water, at the age of 50, 55, imagine she has to get into water, how much of trauma she will undergo. It's something like that. The same tech savviness is not easy, like except
Yes.
for with respect to using of the smartphone has given way for people to use it, but then it takes little time for all of them to equip themselves with technology and using of it. And then technology is not something like where you practically examine and the logistics or the technicalities of it.
Absolutely.
When you take a new smartphone, the different version, you yourself struggle. The tech savvy people themselves struggle, and they will not be able to know the usage, or they may not be able to use the phone to the maximum extent also. When that is the case, imagine the plight of teachers, yes, who are not exposed to technology or tools. Yes.
And the kind of tools that are available, ma'am, the OER online resources that are available, they are in plenty. But
Yes, yes.
The fact that we are teaching like this itself is such a revelation for the teachers.
Yes, yes. Actually, NCRT at the national level, Ministry of Human Resource Development has made an attempt to create national resource repository. And then lots of resources are being incorporated into that repository. But the thing is, those repositories are not mapped according to the needs. Many a times such repositories have to be developed at the grassroots level. Say, for example, individual school. If you take the example of Indonesia, you have every school has its own curriculum. Only the curriculum framework is provided by the center, and every or the state or the district, but every school develops its own curriculum, and then teachers themselves are empowered in order to use the materials. There is no concept of textbook at all. The worksheets or different kinds of materials are developed by the teachers, and the whole focus is only to make the children learn. And the same thing is with respect to Finland. So I think all of us know the ways ways adopted by different countries, and it all depends on how. It's like evolution, the process of evolution. So how do we evolve out of this pandemic? I personally feel that the language has changed with the intervention of technology, and especially during the pandemic. The whole literature will change, the poetry, the language of the poetry will change, and then the perspectives will change, and then there is a complete shift or transformation in the whole mankind, I feel. Yes, and imagine it's very, very difficult to know the world of the children. Children create their own world, and how many of us are well versed in knowing what the child is going through, or what is the world of the child? It requires deeper efforts. Yes, Mohan Raj sir, Gurumurthy, if you want, please, I request you to provide your inputs on the topic, students' perspectives and parental efforts. Your views are. Okay. Yes, sir. I do agree. It has a different objective. That's why, like, even mapping of the objectives according to the needs of the different levels also is a matter of concern. And then we have Diksha portal where the resources are uploaded. And I think material development, handholding teachers for material development is a big thing, where a lot of efforts are needed. And then materials that we developed also should be very, very organic. That means material should not be borrowed from elsewhere. You know, we need to create our own materials according to, say, for example, if a child is in a tribal habitation, the whole material which the teacher used will be very different from that of an urban scenario. Yes, sir, I do agree. But then costs, I think if we adopt a decentralized process of formulation, we can work at a very reasonable cost. Like we don't even have to invest money, only the passion is needed. Gurumurthy, do you have, I really credit Gurumurthy for handholding so many teachers in order to equip them with the use of different technology tools like Audacity and then open source, those materials which teachers find it very, very interesting. Like we are exposed to the visual media, and if we ourselves are able to create a video and then upload it on a YouTube link, yes, that will be a great thing. So he has made a lot of efforts that way. Yes, sir, I do agree. A lot of efforts happened during Gayatri Devi Dutt madam's period. Low-cost material, like even during Madam Anita Kaul, who was an educationist bureaucrat. A lot of reformation happened where the bottom-up process was adopted. We have innumerable resourceful people in the ground. We need to identify them, handhold them, and then put them into networks and then help them build the resources accordingly. So then I think we will move towards more decentralized process where a lot of innovation, creativity happens in the field of ELT as well as education in general. Yes, any other views? Otherwise, we can just take a break for 1 hour, and then as coordinator, Dr. Pujagiri has asked all of us to be online at 5 for the valedictory, we can assemble. Yeah, I thank the stalwarts here who are present, like Professor Mohan Raj, Dr. Sudhir, Dr. Ashita, and all the delegates and paper presenters for this is one important topic, you know, which is very, very practical. Unless we know the parental, efforts and then support that they require, and then the student's perspective, we cannot, the other things will not come into play. So this is one important area, and there were wonderful insights provided by different papers. So I thank one and all for being present during this particular session, viewers as well as audience, as well as the paper presenters mainly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Padmasree.
Thank you,
Well
Sudhir,
done.
sir.
Well coordinated. Yeah.
Thank you. Shivraj, you had a suggestion to retain this group. I think the call will be taken by IT whether to retain, because this particular link, it all depends, no? It is something like a WhatsApp group or a Telegram group. Telegram group, I'm not sure whether we'll be continuing with that. We may have to take a call. We'll discuss and get back to you.
Okay,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you.